Hey there, thanks for tuning into Duckbricks. I'm Chris, and LEGO has just sent me the latest LEGO Super Mario sets to showcase to all of you. Super Mario is a really interesting theme because obviously you're focused on these large-scale buildable characters that interface with the video game character, where you can use electronic Mario to actually play a digital game in the game itself, but not really having a focus on building or minifigures. However, one thing with these recent sets that they've kind of managed to rectify is that they kind of act as their own standalone playsets too. Although I do just really want Mario minifigures as well. But without further ado, let's jump into the 3 brand new LEGO Super Mario sets coming out on August 1st of this year. So here is the entirety of the LEGO Super Mario Summer 2024 wave. Unfortunately, our shipments were a bit delayed for the LEGO Ambassador Network, which is why this video is coming out past August 1st, but hopefully this is still a good look at everything that they have to offer. Out of all the sets here, LEGO sent me the 3 largest sets, and I purchased the rest of them myself at the LEGO store. 71433 Goomba's Playground retails for $15 and comes with 173 pieces, and then we have a trio of starter sets. 71439 Adventures with Interactive LEGO Mario, 71440 Adventures with Interactive LEGO Luigi, and 71441 Adventures with Interactive LEGO Peach. Each of those 3 new starter sets retail for $50 and come with around 210 pieces. Next up, we have 71434, the Soda Jungle Maker set for $55 or 598 pieces, and starting with the ones that LEGO sent me, we have 71435 Battle with Roy at Peach's Castle for $65, 71436 King Boo's Haunted Mansion for $75, and finally my favorite set of the wave is 71437 the Bowser Express Train for $120 and 1,392 pieces. All of these sets are a continuation of the interactive LEGO Super Mario figures, which, if you don't know already, are basically these digital figures which you can scan to collect points and use them to have interactive play with the sets. As a rather unfortunate side effect, however, of the way that these figures are designed, none of these builds or characters are necessarily minifigure scale. They all fall into a unique aesthetic that, honestly, I liked when it first came out and thought it was an interesting thing for LEGO to do, but I feel like LEGO Mario minifigures are long overdue. I know I'm not the only one who feels that way, but I also see a ton of people in my comment section saying that they actually prefer these 2 minifigures, and they don't want figures, so what do you think? Let me know in the comments. Of course, seeing them all together really shows the beauty of this system, because the way that the LEGO Super Mario system is built is that you're supposed to be able to combine all of the sets in a modular play pattern. Although they have been branching out a little bit more beyond just the course builder system and giving us sets like the Bowser Express Train, which is kind of just a set that can stand on its own, which is something I really do appreciate. Seeing all the sets together here, you can see that this is everything that you can do with each and every one of the individual sets, and one thing that I really do want to call out that I like about this wave of sets is that every single one of the main characters gets a larger set of their own. Mario gets the Bowser Express Train because obviously Bowser is his main enemy, Luigi gets the King Boo's Haunted Mansion because of course of the Luigi's Mansion games, and Peach gets the Battle with Roy at Peach's Castle because, well, that's her castle. That's one thing I really do like about this wave. It feels almost like a refresh or a starter course for LEGO Super Mario in general. They're kind of hitting the reset button and giving us starter sets, whereas in past waves we got an entire wave dedicated to Princess Peach or an entire wave dedicated to Luigi's Mansion. Here they're kind of just throwing together different iconic aspects of the 3 main characters and giving us sets based off of that, which is a really good way for folks to get started, especially if they hadn't actually gotten any of the previous sets before, which is really what they're trying to do with sets like these. Altogether, this is the entirety of the August 1st wave, but now let's start off by taking a look at the individual sets because I have a lot to say about each of the individual sets themselves. We'll start off with smallest to largest with 71433 Goomba's Playground. As the smallest set in the wave, this is really just meant to provide a little bit of interactive play for your Super Mario figures and also provide some enemies for him to combat, plus a little bit of scenery to flesh out the world. I honestly kind of like this concept of the Goombas having a playground. It almost makes me feel bad about having Mario attack them because clearly they're just here to vibe and have fun, and then Mario's gonna come over and just beat them up. But look at that, it's kind of cute. They have a seesaw, which I guess Mario can ride as well. It doesn't necessarily need to be violent play, as well as a little tree trunk which you can push a button on the back, allowing you to launch the Goombas out, so maybe that's a more of an attack feature there. But unfortunately, because of that, the actual build for the tree is very blocky, and yes, I get that the aesthetic for these sets is supposed to be blocky, but it literally is just a box, and I guess you have some semblance of a tree trunk at the top, but they really did want to integrate that feature. One strange thing that I do want to point out is that it is pretty rare for LEGO to actually have missing pieces in sets, but it is a lot more common for them to include the wrong piece. And in this set, I did actually get the wrong piece. I couldn't actually put together the lever. However, thankfully, due to the fact that I already have built up my own spare parts collection, just living here in New York for a couple of weeks, I was able to supplement that with some Technic pieces of my own. The way that this interacts with the playable characters is really simple. You just take Mario, you can put him on the seesaw, have him go back and forth, and then you can use him to attack the Goombas. That's basically it. And speaking of Mario, we can move on to the first starter set, 71439, 218 pieces with $50 does not seem like good value at all, except for the fact that, well, this comes with the interactive LEGO Mario brick. And this is a really cool piece of technology. It connects via Bluetooth to your phone. It can receive updates via Bluetooth as well, so they can continually update the figures. And once you hit start, you have 60 seconds to complete the course. You can scan Yoshi, you can actually activate this swing back and forth to knock this flying car off the pedestal, and once it's off, you can defeat the enemy on top of it, so you can kind of stomp on the enemy like so, and you can even take his car for yourself and pilot it, which doesn't really make you seem like the good guy there, but you know, let Mario cook. So here's the thing about this. This is obviously the second time we have gotten a digital Super Mario figure. And when the theme first started in 2020, we got Adventures with Mario starter course, which retailed for $60. Honestly, I was hoping that this would be a lot cheaper because obviously you don't want kids to have to buy a $60 set to be unable to play with all of the other sets in the lineup, so I was kind of hoping that they would just sell this super cheaply, like make the figure close to $30 and then include maybe just like a side build, but they only decreased it by $10, so I don't know how I feel about that. But then again, this is what it is. It is technically a cheaper alternative to get the digital figures so you can start playing with the course, but that is inherently the problem that I have with a lot of these sets, is that you can't really play with them easily, aside from sets like the Bowser Express Train, which we're getting to, without the actual starter course figures. And this is really the only way to currently get them. I like that it's cheaper, but honestly, I wish it was a lot cheaper for what it is. Moving on to the next $50 starter set, we have 71440 Adventures with Interactive LEGO Luigi. I also appreciate how more search engine optimized the name of these sets have come over the years, but this does come with 210 pieces, as well as, I guess, technically 4 different figures, although they're all fully brick built. Luigi is actually identical to the original digital Luigi build because, of course, they're just meant to be cheaper ways or new ways to get the figures, and the way the play pattern for this set works is that you have him scan the barcode, you get 60 seconds to get as many coins as you can, so you have an action feature here, which I actually kind of like. It causes the tree branches to break apart, and I guess if you hit it hard enough, you're supposed to actually knock Boo off, but he kind of gets startled when he sees Boo there. You can talk to Pink Yoshi over there, and you can even commandeer the broom that the enemy is sitting on, so by shaking this platform back and forth, you can eventually topple everything over, scan the barcode on the back of the character here, and take his flying broom for yourself. Which is kind of funny how a lot of the builds here are kind of focused around you defeating your enemies and then just taking their stuff and using it. But hey, you know, it looks like Luigi's gonna have a great time on this broom, so honestly, how can I complain? So that's kind of really all you can do with these sets. It's super simple play, but I can see a younger kid really loving this, just the very physical aspect of toppling things over and slamming the figure on top of barcodes. I think there is a very fun physical aspect to that as adults, maybe it's not the most exciting, but it is what it is. Finally, we can take a look at 71441 Adventures with Interactive LEGO Peach, which retails again for $50 and comes with 208 pieces and 4 different figures, only 2 of which are actually unique to this set. Now, the thing about these is that, again, you don't really have a ton of stuff to build, and I think that My big issue with the LEGO Super Mario Course Builder sets is they literally are meant to fall apart. These sets are designed that you can take them apart, you can build them into different things, which means that you can't really display them. Like, there's not much you can actually do with them on display, and you know I love to put my sets on display, so again, that's not really an easy way to do it because you need a lot of space, and it isn't really something that looks good when it's on display. It's just a ton of different, like, 2 by whatever plates, and by moving these around, different pieces are going to keep falling off. They're literally built so that you can knock things off during play, so they're actually made to fall apart, and that whole design principle even extends to the new molds that they introduced for the theme. The figure legs are a little bit looser, they don't have as much clutch power on studs because they're meant for you to topple them off, and so on and so forth. It's an unfortunate side effect of the building system of these sets, but it is how it works, and this is really the epitome of a set like this because obviously it is a starter set. And again, speaking of sets made to fall apart, we can take a look at 71434, the Soda Jungle Maker set. This is the most course buildery of all of the course builder sets that we got this wave. I actually really like the 3 larger sets because they don't really feel like this. They feel like they're more substantial sets on their own, but this retails for $55 US and comes with 598 pieces, which on paper is actually pretty good value, but when you look at the set as a whole, it really is almost like a LEGO board game set. You just have a series of disparate, separate things that you're meant to kind of have interactive play with. You've got some different creatures that you can build, you have small different bits and pieces of foliage here and there, sliders to go back and forth, but this is the kind of set that nobody should really ever be getting unless they have the digital figures. Like, this is not a fun set to play with if you do not have a main character to play through it. And especially with a set like this, that's kind of how it is. So the way this works is that you can actually push a lever here to deploy one of the question mark gear blocks, which gives you special superpowers during your game. So you can see I got a specialized star there, and you can scan some of the other ones just to be able to get access to their powers. And then moving on, once you actually start the course, you can scan the timer, which will give you a few seconds to actually go ahead and get started. You can scan a campfire so you can hear a nice crackling campfire noise. And really the idea is you're trying to continue through this swamp-like area. You defeat your enemies, you actually have to knock this one off. You can bounce on these little platforms here, and to get across the poison, you have to slide back and forth. So you have the scanner there for sliding, so that's kind of how that works. And then once you do that, you get some coins from sliding, you can jump on these pink bursts, and then finally make your way to the final enemy of the set, where you can kind of push these plates back and forth in a violent enough manner where you can actually knock the figure off. I actually kind of like this play function. It's super fun to be able to just knock it back and forth, and if I wasn't filming with one hand, it would be a lot easier to just go on that a lot faster. But then finally, the last play feature of the set is you can place a saddle on this creature here, and you can actually ride it and swing back and forth, which is a really fun feature. I actually really like how this is built. Overall, it's a fun set if you have the interactive LEGO Mario, Luigi, or Peach figures, but this is again really the epitome of a set that is made to just be a course builder. Nobody who is even a fan of Mario, a fan of LEGO Mario is going to get that much enjoyment out of this without the digital figures. And I really do feel that LEGO needs to really reinvent the way that they build these sets if they want to continue to survive in the future, and if they want to continue to make LEGO Super Mario popular. I'm kind of shocked they haven't done minifigures yet, and well, they just announced LEGO Mario Kart, which is still using these digital figures, so I don't really know if they're ever going to switch. But then we can move on to the next set, 71436 King Boo's Haunted Mansion. So I actually really like these 3 larger sets of the wave because, well, they feel like they're standalone good sets on their own. You can play with these, and yes, while it should have a hero figure, it's kind of disappointing there is no good guy figure here to even play with, especially if you don't own Luigi. You can play with this as its own playset, which is something that the LEGO Super Mario series has been kind of sorely lacking, and I really do appreciate the fact that they did this. So this retails for $75 US and comes with 932 pieces, which is actually pretty good value. And yes, some of those pieces are smaller detail elements here and there. I actually do really like how much effort they put into making this a fully enclosed building. This is the kind of thing I really enjoy. We also have a brand new mold that was just introduced, which is this larger castle door style element, which I'm sure fantasy builders are going to absolutely love. It kind of reminds me of an older LEGO vintage door element that they used back for like the King's Mountain Fortress and stuff like that. So really cool to get a new element. And obviously you can see that there are a lot of different hidden Technic elements here and there to play around with the set, but as it is, it's a really nice fully enclosed haunted house. You even have it fully enclosed on the back, which is something I really do appreciate. Of course, once you do unfurl it, it becomes a whole-on play area, and you actually have different platforms that you can deploy inside of the house to activate different things. So, once you deploy all of the platforms, you can actually begin the way to play with this set. Starting off with your Luigi figure at the front entrance, you have to first defeat the opponent guarding the gates, which is kind of like a dry bones over here. You can unlock the chest, but only if you have a key, so you have to find a key inside the mansion to be able to unlock the chest, which is actually a really fun play feature. I kind of wish more sets did this, where you had stuff that you can't just simply scan from the outset, and you have to actually find something to beat them first. So, of course, can't unlock the chest, so you have to go inside the mansion and figure out what secrets are inside to be able to play the game. Inside, you are confronted with King Boo, but let's deal with him a little bit later and try to find that key first. Jumping on top of a smaller ghost here, you can actually defeat it, which causes the actual key box to open up, and now you have an access to the key. So, with the key in hand, you can go to the front lock box, unlock it, and guess what's inside? You can see it plays a little bit of an animation, and you get a ton of money. Always good to get a ton of money, one of my favorite things, so good to get that. Then, as you're exploring the mansion, you might need to relax, you might need to curl up in front of the fireplace and sit on this cozy couch. But oh no, the couch is beginning to float. It seems to have been possessed by a ghost, and the entire way that this is supposed to work is that you're supposed to bring Luigi up and down until he actually falls off of the couch itself, because again, these are not meant to stick onto studs, so it really is supposed to be kind of a fun play feature, and there are ergonomic and gyroscopic sensors inside of the actual figures, so you know when they actually are moving up and down. Next up, you have to wiggle this hard enough to knock over King Boo. Once King Boo is knocked over, you can actually scan him to fully defeat the villain. And finally, you will have beaten the mansion. Once you actually have defeated King Boo, you can explore the rest of the mansion and presumably, given the trend of all the other sets, maybe make it your own home and take it from him. So altogether, this is actually a pretty fun and complete comprehensive playset. I like how it actually is fully enclosed. You can have it act as a normal playset, like with figures, you don't have to have the electronic play in order to be able to play with it, and everything does fold up really nicely because it does act as its own building. Altogether, this is probably one of the most complete building sets we've ever gotten from Super Mario, and I actually really like that. It's a lot better than a lot of the other sets that we've taken a look at so far for the theme. But now, let's move on to the next set, which is the one focused around Princess Peach. 71435 is the battle with Roy at Peach's castle. And I gotta say, this set is honestly a little bit unfortunately of a letdown compared to the other set. While King Boo's Haunted Mansion was very much an enclosed building, this set is very much just a facade. There's not much you can do, and yes, I guess you can kind of close it up, but it's not quite as satisfying as the other set. It doesn't really have a roof, and they did what they could to actually give it a fully enclosed interior, but as it is right now, the way it's closed up isn't super great. So first of all, you can see you have Roy here with like a chain chomper villain on a chain here, which is kind of attacking your hero, so that's kind of pulling the chariot forward, which is a really fun design. I like using the Technic linkages to drag the chariot forwards, but moving on to the main build, let's go ahead and take a look at how you can actually play with this. First off, you have Peach coming up to her castle. Knocking over the fountain allows you to scan a little treasure underneath for some coins that you can get. You can talk to Toad right here and get some hearts and coins from that interaction. And then you can move on over and actually try to defeat the enemies. And once again, following in the theme of the rest of the sets, once you actually defeat the enemies, you can actually steal their vehicles for yourself, like this chariot. Of course, one thing that you can do with the chariot is bash in one of the castle walls, because of course, Logan Roy is laying siege to this castle, so once you defeat your opponents, you can take their chariots for yourself. However, there's a lot more to do inside of the castle, and I like that a lot of the play patterns of this set are more focused on peace and friendly things, because obviously this is not a haunted mansion, it is just a castle after all, such as this piano here. If you want Peach to be able to play the piano, you actually have some music notes that appear on her chest, as well as some music playing, which is a nice little touch, and you even have a throne for Princess Peach as well. Rotating the throne around, you can have her sit in the chair, which provides a unique interaction, especially if you are Princess Peach sitting on the throne. She kind of has a nice facial expression there. And moving onwards, you can actually push a little knob on the side of the building for you to be able to scan a special star block, allowing you to gain special powers and float through the air. There's a few more things that you can do, but overall, that's basically it for this actual play feature with the interactive digital function. However, if you do want to play with the set without the figure, there is a little catapult that you can swivel around, and otherwise there's not much else. So here's the thing about this set. Again, this set retails for $65 and it comes with 738 pieces, which on paper feels pretty good, but it also feels a little small for what it is, and I think that because of the scale, the castle ends up feeling a lot smaller than a regular minifigure scale castle at this price would. I do like the detailing, the color scheme is really nice, you've got all sorts of really nice elements being used to kind of make rounded walls and so on and so forth, but altogether, it feels just a little disjointed as a facade. There's not a ton going on here because it doesn't really know what it wants to be. Is it supposed to be a play area for the digital figures, or is it supposed to be a nice little display piece? I don't really know. Add to the fact that you have these isolated different components like the catapult here, which isn't necessarily really something that you can use with the digital figures, and that all just adds to a play experience that isn't super clear on what it wants to be. But overall, we can now move on to my favorite set of the wave, which is 71437, the Bowser Express train. You're probably noticing a trend here, and I'm sure that commenters will say, well, maybe then the course builder system isn't really for me if my favorite sets are all the ones that have the least to do with the course builder system, but it is what it is. This is my favorite set of the wave and one of my favorite Super Mario sets in a long time because the Bowser Express train is a vehicle. It's the kind of thing that you can just play with on your own. You don't need to have really any figures, and yeah, there are some builds that are meant to interact with the figures, and having the digital figures will augment the play experience, but it totally acts as a standalone build. You could just want a cool Bowser-themed train, and this is the perfect train for you. And I really do like that. A lot of the other Bowser vehicles have been the same, like his airship before, and even the twin airships in the past. They all have been standalone vehicles that you can just simply play with. Now obviously this is scaled up from the standard LEGO train, and while there are a lot of cool functions when you roll the wheels, it doesn't actually roll on standard train tracks. It kind of just acts as a standalone thing. But this does remind me a lot of those really fun and wacky LEGO train sets which actually had functions as you pulled them along. I have a lot of fond memories growing up with the Time Cruiser's Time Twisters train. I think it was like the Twisting Time Train or something like that, and that had all sorts of fun features when you rolled the wheels. So that was really a ton of fun, and then of course, you have all sorts of little individual scenes inside of the builds itself, which I really appreciate. Take this one for example. You have two Goombas like on a date or something, which is really funny because you have one in a top hat and one in a pink hat, so I guess those are supposed to be like a couple of Goombas, which is really cute. And you can remove the roof, and if you want to, you can disrupt their happy time and actually cause your digital figures to stomp on them and defeat them, or you can just leave them be. You know, you can choose to not be violent, and I always advocate for that. But underneath the table, which you can oh so violently flip over with your digital figures, is a question mark block. So I guess if you really need those superpowers that much, you can destroy their happy little peacetime in this carriage and actually gain the powers hidden underneath for yourself. Moving on from this special carriage element, you have the next area of the build, and this is a firing cannon, utilizing the newer, or slightly newer, I guess, style, I guess it's been around for a few years now, of the replacement to the Technic competition cannon. This is a spring-loaded missile which fires outwards, and you can pretty much angle this however way you want, activated by the trigger on the back. It's a super simple function, but one that is a lot of fun to actually play around with. And finally we get to the front of the train, which is easily one of my favorite parts of it. Not only is it really nicely sculpted with a gigantic Bowser head on the front, I really love how that works, but you actually have the function to be able to have the smokestack go up and down, as well as the figure on the back to rotate back and forth. The only issue I have with this train is that over certain surfaces, it's just not going to activate the functions that well because you don't have that much like friction on the wheels, especially because there's no like rubber bands on the wheels or anything. It pretty much just has to be something that is activated by you pushing down. One interesting thing though is that this lever activates a barcode which you can scan, presumably to interact with the digital figures, and you can actually cause this to have the smokestack go up and down, which is really nice. A slightly less interesting function is that you can very slightly lift and lower this platform up and down, and I don't really know like what the deal is behind that. I guess you're supposed to use it to knock over the figures, but it just is such a small range of motion, and lifting it up causes them to stop spinning. I don't really know what the deal is behind that, so maybe you're supposed to like lift it up, cause them to stop spinning so you can actually prevent the attacks and then knock them over. I think that's actually what that's supposed to be. Anyways though, the train itself is something I really do like because it has a really solid build. You can play with it on its own, and this build for the Bowser face is really well done. I love the curvature, the angles, the studs and the side techniques. It's actually a pretty advanced build for what it is, and I really appreciate that. Now, taking the digital figure, there's a lot of different interactive points that you can do on the set. Once again, once you place Mario in the cockpit area of the train, you can actually go choo-choo and actually push this lever to cause him to make a choo-choo sound, which is really cute. Of course, you can dodge the attacks, knock over the character, and then finally defeat the villain on the top of the train here, and you can work your way back to the other segments of the train as well. Stepping on this platform here allows you to use the seesaw as you actually have the train rotate, so you can scan the barcode there and cause you to roll the train back and forth like so, and in doing so, you can knock off the opponents here, smash them like so, and that's pretty much all you can do with the set. Altogether, this is a really interesting wave of LEGO Super Mario builds. You have basically large-scale starter sets for all of your 3 main characters, as well as 3 new starter sets, and a couple of smaller sets to flesh out the wave. All in all, I think that as far as LEGO Super Mario waves go, this one is kind of one of my favorites. I think it is really cool that we get multiple different large-scale sets to use for the characters to actually play around in. I think that is a really cool thing for us to be able to have these large, like a Peach's Castle and a King Boo's Mansion and a Bowser train that you can just use for your starter figures. But altogether, I cannot be the only person who is a little bit tired of the course builder sets and longing for LEGO Super Mario minifigures. We haven't gotten a direct-to-consumer Princess Peach's Castle because we just need that to be done with figures. It doesn't make sense to do unless you're doing it with minifigures, and I feel like LEGO has gotta have that in the pipeline. Like, I would be shocked if they didn't, but it's been 4 years. I think it's time for LEGO Super Mario to reinvent itself and give us something unique. So hopefully, once we're done with Mario Kart next year, we're gonna be transitioning over the figures, but I guess a man can dream. Until now, that has been our review of every single one of the Super Mario sets, and thanks to LEGO for sending me the 3 largest sets for review. Alright, and that sums up our coverage of the brand new LEGO Super Mario sets. Once again, thank you to the LEGO Ambassador Network for sending me these sets over to review. And let me know down in the comments, what do you think of these sets? Do you think they're worth the prices they're charging? And what do you think of the theme as a whole? Very curious what people have to say. That's all for this video. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to like and subscribe for even more LEGO news, reviews, discussion, and analyses coming your way very soon, and bye for now.